I'd like to make a motion to adjourn public hearing number 3 to July 7th.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
No.
Opposed?
Nay.
Want to do a roll call, please?
Yes, so this roll call is to adjourn public hearing number 3 to July 7th. Jeff Renahan?
Aye.
Bill Carlos?
No.
Mike Sifron?
Aye.
Stefan?
Nay.
Nay. Ann?
Aye.
Aye, and
Aye.
aye, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that's 4 to 2.
That brings us to public hearing number 4. I'd like to open the public hearing on the comprehensive emergency management plan.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here to discuss that?
Is there anybody here to discuss public hearing number 4?
If not, make a motion to close public hearing number 4.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ready?
Jeff?
Okay, be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie, having conducted a duly noticed public hearing on June 16, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Racker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, does hereby adopt the proposed Town of Poughkeepsie Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan as prepared by the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, copies of which can be found in the Town Clerk's office. And be it further resolved, the legal notice of the public hearing was posted on June 4, 2021, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on June 8, 2021. And be it further resolved that the adoption of this policy is type 2 action requiring no secret review because it does not involve the adoption of new programs or priorities which may affect the environment. So moved.
Second. Motion second. Any questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. I want to thank the police department and Councilman Ranahan for reviewing this with his experience.
Number 5, Mr. Supervisor, it says discuss and adjourn. Shall
There
I
was
read
a-
this?
There's one on the table.
There was a revised one on the table, should have been when you got there, Bill.
Yes.
I have it revised. If you want to read this one, mine says revised on the top.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah,
That's it?
Yeah, that's one.
That's the one? So you want me to read it then? And then we're going to still adjourn it?
No,
No.
no.
We know.
Oh, it's the first thing he's gonna open.
Maybe.
is the
You have to
public
open this
Yeah.
public hearing.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have speakers to this one.
We need a motion to open public hearing on 83 Marple Road Extension.
Number 5 is open. Second, thank you,
All
Ann.
those in favor?
Aye.
Who would like to speak on this item?
Not yet.
Oh, hold on. No, go ahead.
Christine Whalen.
Christine, what's your last name? I'm sorry.
Whalen, W-H-E-L-A-N, Christine with a K.
And you lived on
So-
81, right?
I grew up at 81 Marple Road Extension my entire life. My parents lived there for 55 years until they both passed away in the last 7 months. They raised me there. I spent all of my life there with them at that home. As far back as I can remember, the property next door to us at 83 has been a nightmare. If you look in your records, you will find that my father, Ed Decker, appeared in front of this board numerous times over many, many years, coming to you, begging for help to do something about the situation that was next door. At first, it was just an eyesore, property not taken care of, dilapidation. Now it's a health and safety hazard. It's been that way for at least 15 years, at least. This board, though the faces and the names are different, condemned that property in 2012. That sign is still on the garage door. On March 13th of 2012, the property was condemned by the building inspector. Nothing happened. It was reposted on May 12th of 2017, again, condemned. Nothing happened. The board in 2015 had voted unanimously to declare it unsafe. and you did nothing. And by you, obviously, I don't mean you because you weren't the people necessarily that were here, but the board did nothing. Reposted it again in 2017 and again in 2019. It was condemned. So at this point in time, I'm an only child. I'm left with the burden of selling the house I grew up in. My parents are gone, and they both went to their graves worrying about what would happen to me when I had the duty of trying to sell this house with the eyesore and hazard that is next door. My realtor has flat out told me it will be difficult to sell because of what is next door. And if we do sell, it will be at a significant loss, despite the booming housing market right now. If I were a family, I would not move into my home, because what's next door, and the town should be concerned, is a liability. It's an attractive nuisance for squatters, for children that can go in. The back door is wide open. Your inspector has been there again. Back door is wide open, the porch is caved in, the stairs are broken. There's a hole 3 feet wide in the top of the roof above the window. There's no siding on one side of the house. The raccoons go in every day and every day come back out. I can only imagine what other animals are living in there. It's been in the name of the Ecological and Zoological Society. For years they got away with this. For years. The father, Nine Tuffle, and the son. My attorney has contacted the town to advise you that that appears to be a business that conducts no business and has no legitimate business dealings. And they have gotten away with whatever tax breaks the town has given them over the years because of that designation. No one has stepped foot in that property in years. There's an uprooted tree in the backyard. There's trash over the entire backyard. There's siding laying in the backyard. I just put a fence up on my parents' back porch. I spent money to have a contractor put a fence up, block privacy panels, so that if someone does happen to come look at the house, they won't have to look at that monstrosity next door when they're sitting on their back deck. But I want to know, should I spend the $5,000 that it's going to cost me to put up a fence along the entirety of the property, or is the town going to finally take action? I was told by a member of the town staff that the town refuses to take further action because it will cost you too much money to take the homeowner to court. I don't think that's fair. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to my neighbors, who have been the best neighbors that my family could have ever asked for, who all of them, the Smiths, the Evans, the Kovars, they all take meticulous care of their property, just like my parents did before they died. It's not fair. We've been living with this for 20 years. I am asking you to please, at this point, take action, because if something happens, it's bad enough that I'm going to suffer the economic loss of what's coming. But if something happens to someone because the town didn't take action on that property, I will be the first one at the attorney's office giving them all the evidence I have. And I'm sorry to put it like that, but I watched my parents suffer for years, and my father come here and beg for help. So I'm asking you finally, at this point, to please tell us what you're going to do to help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, could I?
Yes.
And while Ms. Whalen is still here.
Did anybody else want to speak on that, or is that okay?
Well, actually, could I
Sure.
discuss this?
Yeah.
This resolution directs that a notice and order, which is a document which is prepared by the building department, separate from the report, that you received when this was before you at the last meeting, be prepared and be served. And in order to make sure that everybody has full notice, we are dealing with a property here, as well as public health and safety in the neighborhood, primarily, actually, that order and, that order and notice be served and posted, and that a public hearing on this, which would actually be separate from this one, take place on the 7th of July. The purpose is to make sure that proper notice
And
is
notice
given.
goes to the homeowner, correct?
Pardon me?
And
That it's
notice
noticed, that will be posted at the property, and the clerk runs, to be careful, a legal notice. And so my suggestion was to let everybody know that that's the process that's being followed, and perhaps the people who are here tonight on this public hearing may want to come back on the 7th to make sure that they get on the record whatever it is they
So
want.
we're doing a public hearing in order to publish an order and notice to have a public hearing?
No, this was a public hearing which was previously noticed.
Right.
And then, when I reviewed the documents, I saw that what we needed to do was an order
Okay,
and a
and
notice. But this was still noticed, so
Right, so
people
in-
have shown up
All right, so
tonight.
in the order and notice that we're gonna do with July 7th, will that give us the authority at some point to remove the house or the
Yeah, what it will do, your standard order is that they have 30 days. Well, actually, the town directs that they start the work forthwith, now, but not later than 30 days, and finish it within 60. And if they don't do it, then the town can hire a
The work to
contractor.
remove the house?
Pardon me?
The work to remove the house? Or the
I'm
work
not-
to
I
remove?
don't know whether the house has to be,
Well, here's the thing, I think I was here in 2012. I'm a new guy now, but I think I was here in 2012. And it should be that her parents could have seen that happen. So this time around, we just gotta make sure that whatever we need to do to follow all the way through, that we do. I saw this guy, I don't know when, he came in one time, and he spewed whatever he spewed. He said whatever he had to say, and I guess ran interference to what the town was trying to get accomplished. It just, I don't live next to it, and I wouldn't want to, but I wouldn't want anybody else to have to either. So whatever we need to do, whatever i's have to be dotted and t's crossed, we should do it, follow through with it, so that these nice people don't have to come back here again, and so that the neighborhood can be a neighborhood the way it should be. So whatever you need, we're doing a public hearing, and we're gonna have another public hearing. I just wanna make sure that at the end of this, we don't give this guy the opportunity to run interference again, because this is, I'm pretty sure I voted on that in 2012.
Yeah,
I
Stefan,
did
this
not
is,
vote in 2017 or 2019, I don't think. But that being said, it shouldn't be that somebody can, put a patch on it and leave it to be a nightmare. It should be at some point we can follow through. And I get that there's property rights, that there's people out there. I saw this guy here, and honestly, I didn't believe what he was saying when he was here back in 2012, and clearly he didn't do anything to change it or fix it.
he came in here around 19 or something, talked to Wayne, I do remember being in the building. And since then, he's passed, and now it's his son, and he did put a request and notice to be heard. That's why we need to have him here, so we can do it, so we don't get caught.
I don't
So,
mind
have him here
listening,
July 7th.
but
Well,
I
his- the
just,
son has told neighbors that he plans on having his son live there when he goes to Dutchess Community College. Now, Central Hudson turned off the electric, and apparently you have 1 year to strip all the sheetrock, insulation, rewire the place. It has to be inspected before they will turn electricity back on. So he's just making a fool of everybody,
right.
And
because
that's-
he's stringing this thing along.
It sounds like the son is no different than the father from the conversation he had.
And
So
that-
that's why we want to make the notice be heard, get him here July 7th, and get the clock actually moving and making sure it gets done this time.
Just so you know, there was notice to be heard, posted, I have it here, you posted it in 2019.
We posted an order and notice in 2019.
Posted notice, opportunity to be heard, and then it lists what the opportunity to be heard is, you must request a hearing in writing to the board via USPS certified mail not later than 10 days from the date of this notice. That was May 22nd of 2019. It's still on the house.
So if
They
we,
never posted
if
it.
we did this in 2012, we did it again in 2017, we did it again in 2019, why are we doing it in 2021?
Why don't we just order it
Why,
torn
why,
down?
right, there's gotta be a point where we either have the authority or we have to go back and do it right so that we do. It's just not
But
fair.
if we gave him notice to be heard in 2019 and no request was made, why are we giving him another opportunity to be heard? Your notice is still on the
Right.
house.
Right, and I've never met the son, but the father was, like I said, what he said I didn't believe at the time, and it doesn't appear that he's done anything over these years, but either have we, and that's the problem, and that's, sorry for that.
I don't, well, the reason for refreshing and redoing this is to make sure that the report is current. The report that was done by Wayne Shishan, which was brought in to the last meeting and which will be part of this hearing on the 7th, is a current one. The other one dated back to 19. And so, very honestly, my suggestion
But if it was properly done in 2019, why do we gotta do it again now?
What does it take to destroy a building? Take it down and cart it away.
Right, if it was properly
What
done
do
in
we have to
2019,
legally
why do we
do
have to do it
to-
again now?
You
If it was done wrong in 2019, then I guess we do it again, but if it was properly done in 2019, why would we do it
I think we're
again?
documenting that things are worse, and maybe we can take it down now.
It doesn't say it in
I
this.
think in 2012, it probably could have been
Yes.
taken down. That's the thing, is I remember that, I remember the guy here, I remember the discussion, I remember seeing the pictures.
You know, I have the
So-
pictures, I'm happy to show you.
At some point, you have to do something.
I think your father's been coming as long as he's worked here.
What's that?
I think your father's been coming in and out as long as I've worked here. Just-
Yes.
Yes, he was a very nice gentleman.
Thank you.
Jim,
Okay, and the only thing reason why I'm saying is, Jim, is here, it gives that 30 days and then the 60 days unless extended by the bill inspector. And I think we gave too much already extensions on this. It's either gonna have to be, in my opinion, completed, or I think it should come back to the town board to then go ahead and have it demolished.
Wayne can
why do we have to wait?
I know what
Right,
it
if
is,
it was
but I
done in
mean,
2019, I don't know why we wouldn't have the authority at this point.
Well, if
Right
he
now.
had made any kind of progress on it at all, that would have
I
negated
don't believe he
that. So we
has.
don't-
I don't believe he
The
has.
building department's not here to tell us what he did or didn't do. So without having that, somebody here from the building department, we've got to follow through with what we have to keep the process rolling.
I just don't want to keep chasing our
I
tail.
remember
No, but
that
we just
coming
gotta
in
move
here.
forward with
He
it.
might have made some small
Yeah,
repairs.
we
that
didn't
we
make
don't
any
know about.
repairs.
He
Took
didn't
a
do
tree
anything.
down, that's all we took down.
This was falling down, and his solution was to hire a couple guys to throw plywood on top of the deck.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Jim, I need to understand, because I don't understand. What does it take before we can order a condemned building taken down, destroyed, and carted away? What do we have to do?
You have to have notice, you have to have an opportunity to be heard, and you have to have a basis, in fact, for the action you're gonna take.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is we've had notice before,
But that gentleman passed away.
and we're gonna do notice again. How about what we do is we put it off till the 7th, is that our next meeting?
He's got it, he's
Order
got
the
it here.
demolition of it that night.
Okay,
Why
I
are we
would like-
doing this?
Okay.
Well, Bill, you have to.
We are unfortunately,
And here's the thing,
fortunately or
the-
unfortunately, we're dealing with a property interest of a person. I mean, much to the consternation of all the neighbors.
Yeah, no, but we're also dealing with property interests of a whole bunch
Yes.
of other people
All the
that are being
neighbors.
negatively impacted. And here's the thing, the cost shouldn't be, correct me if I'm wrong, the town pays for it to be done, it gets tagged to their tax bill, the county then makes the town whole. So the town doesn't suffer from
No,
this.
it wasn't, this was not.
Right, I just want to clarify that, because there shouldn't be, there's not a reason for the town not to do it because of cost, because ultimately the county bears that cost, correct, Jim?
Well,
Hopefully you still have to put it out.
actually,
You
I
still have to
checked
put
it
it out
out
for
on
bid.
parcel access, and it's not a not-for-profit. They are paying full taxes, and I called today, and unfortunately, they're up to date with their taxes. And that's the problem, because I had a bad actor in my ward, and they stopped paying the taxes, and 3 years later, it got sold to a lovely couple that are now flipping it.
There was no way to flip this house.
No.
No, but I'm just saying that if
but-
they
but
stop
it's not-
paying their
but this
taxes,
is-
the county
It's
would
easier
see.
if the taxes are delayed.
I think we
Yeah,
move forward with the
county
July
takes care of
7th
this
and
for
get it done. and
Okay,
get
but
moving.
I'll go for that, as long as at the July 7th meeting, the resolution in front of us, and for our vote, talks about the demolition and removal of the building.
Yes, you know, but, you know, we have to make sure if it says 30 days, if it's 30 days, by law, we have to. You know,
Okay,
but
30 days from 2019?
Yeah, the notice in 2019
No,
said 10
it's
days.
30 days
for a
from the
public
7th
hearing.
of
Okay,
July.
we don't know
But
what
what was,
happened.
what was,
Which way.
wait, let's, there are people here, let's do this right. So we're gonna, we'll adjourn it now, we'll redo it on the 7th.
So you have the
On the
hearing-
7th,
you
the
have hearing on the
resolution will
7th.
say,
Yes.
you have to fix it, have it done by, and there'll be a date. And if it's not done by that date, the next day, we're gonna take it down.
He has 30 days to start. If it doesn't start, we take it down.
Yeah, but this has been going on, I remember this from way back when Stefan.
Yeah, but I think, like, the whole thing about this 30 days to start, and then the 60 days there of, you know,
Well, but-
less extended. I think
well,
within
let me
60
ask-
days, it has to
let me
either
ask
be
you-
a CO issued or something, and I don't think that's gonna be a pain.
He's not gonna do
but-
anything within 30
Jim,
days.
Yeah, I know.
can I ask you this? If we go through this and we get the authority to demolish it and remove it, is there a window where you would have to do that in? When the town gets the authority to do that, do we have to do it in 30 days, 60 days?
We can do
Within
No,
it?
I
So-
don't think that
All right, so
there
if-
is
if-
any time limit.
If it was
for the
done correctly in
town to have.
2019, then we may have the authority to do this now. Right, that's what I'm thinking.
I think you have to give him the
Mm-mm.
time to demolish. If he doesn't, then the town.
But it was, the property owner
Yeah.
would have been properly notified,
Correct.
noticed in 2019. We should have the authority right now to have it removed.
That's what
Going
I
back through this is like belt and suspenders at best.
But
At
do you have a
worst, it's
different-
just, it's
But
redundancy.
you have a different owner now. You have a different owner.
You don't,
It's the son, it's not the father.
Right.
it's
Let's
the,
get him in
time
here.
out, time out.
Let's get him in here.
Time out, the property is
Let's
titled
see,
to,
it's still
the
the
property is titled to the Zoological Society, correct?
Right,
It's not a different owner. Whether it's a different person running that faux not-for-profit.
Same owner.
It's the same property owner that's always been. So the bottom line is, if we had the, if we went through the process, presumably it was to get the authority to force them to fix it or to remove the building in 2019, 2017, 2012. So somewhere along that line, we should have had that authority, which should potentially still exist.
Well, again,
Going back through it to just double check and like be cautious, I guess that's fine if we were to finish it the right way once and for all, but the reality is, I think we may actually have that authority already anyway.
Let's pass
So sometimes we,
Well, if we do between now and July 7th, we'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll
pass
do it.
this
That's the
tonight,
case.
let's get the ball rolling. If we find out different, we can rescind this at that meeting.
okay,
And
but
we'll
at
have
the
it
July
right here.
7th meeting, I want to see a resolution
We'll
that
see. We
directs
can
the
work on making
destruction.
sure that's done. We'll see. We'll get it here
Yeah.
July 7th. We'll get it here.
Okay, so
That's
let's
basically
make
the
it
set
sure.
date.
And everybody's out here. I think everybody here is in favor of getting this thing done.
We need to
July
pass this.
7th, we're either going to come in and say we have a right to do it, or we're going to have a hearing and move on. It's from your choice. We don't know.
This is basically a
that
notice
reason-
for that public hearing on July 7th. I just wanted to, Correct.
Mr. Attorney,
Yes.
what can we make sure we put in? Can we put a deadline in the resolution we pass on the 7th?
The
And
the
say-
deadline per the town code talks about 30 to 60 days. And I think where this will come out is a direction, because the town code talks about restoration and securing. And so my guess is what you might end up with on the 7th is a report and suggestion to the board that between that 30 and 60, the owner has to restore. I think it would be legitimate to say to the level of town code compliance. Now, whether that can ever happen, I don't know. Failing which, the town can either go in and do that restoration or do the demolition.
But Jim, in that same time frame, not disagreeing with that, but go back and see if 2019, them timeframes were activated, he's not made 60 days, will we be able to come in here on July 7th and say, we're taking it down? I think that's what we should do.
That's what I'd like to see us do.
Isn't the issue really, if he didn't request the hearing within 10 days, as your notice says, that's still on the house, then there is no 30 or 60 days to fix
But we
it.
have to go back and check the records and see what happened.
But what I'm saying is, if he didn't request the hearing, he doesn't get 30 or 60 days to fix it.
That's-
That's if he
that's
requests the
what we're
hearing
going to
and you
check.
grant
Well,
it.
that's what I'm saying,
2019,
I'm agreeing with you.
2020, 2021, 2 years ago?
Yes.
That's what I said, if he did not at that point, and we have the right at July 7th, we should be able to make a recommendation to take it down.
Right.
On July
On
7th.
what, Mr. Supervisor, then on what, August 7th? I wanna have
If
it
he
all
decide on July 7th, it's up to us to make that decision, because if he missed his time frame and his windows, and that's still legitly still out there, we should be able on July 7th, come out with a resolution that says, we are authorizing whoever, whether it's the highway department or hiring somebody to take that building down. Is as long as that's not some crazy law that says it's cold, because I'm not an attorney.
Okay, so we're
Yeah,
gonna
well,
adjourn this, I'm not gonna read this.
Well,
And then we're gonna have,
You have to read it.
You have to read it.
You have
I have
to
a-
read this in order
I have
to
a
put it on.
question that I don't so I'll read this. Well, I have
Wait,
a question.
Oh,
I
hold
have
on
a
a
question,
second.
and I'm not completely convinced I want to ask it, but I'm going to. Why is it that nothing happened after 2012, 2017, 2019? Like, why is that? If they didn't actually do anything to address it, what do we as government do when we vote on resolutions? And then, I guess we should figure out where that ball got dropped and make sure that that's corrected, because we vote for something, and honestly, I don't follow this resolution back to wherever it's headed. I believe that it happened. So we should go back through and figure that out, because there's no reason why they should be back here again now. So we do need to, that question, it might not be answered tonight, but that question needs to be answered so that it doesn't happen like this. Okay. And-
We're gonna look into that.
I understand that. Right, but My question is the resolution on July 7th going to have the wording in it with a date that the house will be demolished and taken away?
Well, we don't know, we have to check and see what happened from 2019.
Okay, I'm gonna read this
If we
now.
made
We're
Well,
gonna
now,
go
we
put
can't read it
another
now,
notice
because it's
on
still a
it.
public hearing.
Yeah, but
People
just
want
if
to speak.
we made a mistake, we can
Thank you,
correct
Jeff.
it in the next resolution that we make for the 7th. We have to look at our records.
Yeah.
We have to get this passed so we can get him notice to get here, and we'll check our records tomorrow. Yeah. Then we'll devise what we have to
Okay,
do.
so we still
let
have,
this
it's 2 weeks to.
Yeah, we need to finish the
Why don't we
public
finish
hearing.
let-
Can we finish letting the public talk, and then
Oh,
we'll get on
okay.
to that piece?
Sorry.
Thank you.
I guess.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, you can have demolished it July 8th.
Hopefully.
We'll help you.
Is that
Actually,
all you-
they could bring it down to the original foundation. And here to the garage, it's not even too thin. The block are separating from the original foundation. You could put a raised ranch back up there.
Did you ever get a chance to even say who you were? I kind of forgot.
Smith,
Oh,
I told you that.
oh, yes.
Is that it?
That's it. All right. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Doreen had her hand raised, but I wanted to ask any of the neighbors before I went to Doreen. Did you have anything else? Okay, so other neighbors with
Thank you.
concerns.
This is egregious.
Doreen, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. So this whole thing has been ridiculous. I've talked about this a number of times. One of the dates that Christine did not mention, at least I don't think so, was in 2015. I had the meeting minutes right in front of me. There were minutes from October 7th and October 21st. And the October 21st resolution clearly says that that there was 30 days from service of the order and notice and be completed no longer than 60 days thereafter, and gave further notice that on failure to timely comply, the town board is authorized to secure or demolish and remove the building. And, you know, I remember talking to Ed Decker after the meeting that night, when he seemed happy to think that something was going to happen. And then basically I told him, don't count your chickens before they hatch, because we've seen this before. So here you have this resolution, and 4 of the board members were on the board in 2015. That would be Baisley, Carlos, Shershin, and Safone. And that night, the deputy building inspector, Wayne Stishon, said that they had already been dealing with this for 10 years. And so this was 2015, so that would be 2005. And the comments made by Wayne that night, according to the meeting minutes, was that he said, what we are asking for is obvious, which is to go in and secure the structure and have an order to repair or demolish. So, you know, you can debate and you can do whatever, you know, but the bottom line is the neighbors have had to put up with this since 2005. And it, you know, like I said, right here in the 2015 meeting minutes, it specifically says to repair or demolish, and you're still talking about it. So anyway, that's all I want to say.
Somebody was prepared.
Anything else?
Suzanne, did you want to speak on this item?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just had a question. I don't have a vested interest in this property, I'm not a neighbor, but I'm just wondering, it appears that the owner of the property was an elder who passed away, and on the, but it's a company that owns the property, and you're saying that just because the elder died and his son is living, it doesn't matter the circumstances, you just want the building either repaired or demolished. But I'm just wondering, in what circumstance do you all consider if there's a hardship for the family, or what the actual circumstances are? Does that ever come into play?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we have to follow the code, and the code says, you know, if it's an imminent danger, you know, you have to make sure you take that down so nobody gets hurt.
And this has been going, as I stated, an ongoing issue for many years, and nobody has lived there, to the best of my knowledge, for over 10 or 15 years. So the hardship is not somebody living there because somebody's not there. They're living in Connecticut and running from process servers and everything else.
And they are paying the taxes, so
Yes,
they have
So
a
they are
vested interest
paying.
in the property.
Mr. Town Attorney, in our records, do we have that document that Doreen was quoting from? Okay.
Yes, we do.
So let's attach that to the packet for the 7th, under the date to demolish it, not repair it, not go in and fix it, not go through the nonsense. It's enough, it's enough. So, on July 7th, we'll have a resolution. Attached to it will be the thing that Doreen is making the comments about, and we'll set a date to demolish the building. Everybody nodding yes?
I'm in favor, but I'd like to know why the building department has not done that
You
yet.
have to give them a chance.
We can do all the investigations we want. I don't want these people living next to that run-down building. Notice I caught myself. So, is everybody nodding their heads?
Let's just-
The July 7th meeting,
Let's just, Jim,
Bill,
get this stuff together for
Let's
the
just
July
get the
7th.
documentation together to say that is making no sense. We need to get the
okay, so
documentation
we
together
have
and
3
move this
weeks to
forward.
July 7th. I think
To
we should
move
be able to
forward.
get the documents ready and have a document in front of the board that has the word demolish the house in it and a date.
Is July 7th?
Am I asking
is that
too
a-
much?
Is that our next voting?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
All right, so between now and then, if you take a look at what was done in 2019, 2017.
2015.
2015 also, 2012, probably a whole bunch of other
2005.
dates before that. If you take a look at that, I think you probably will determine that we already have the authority to demolish it, and then we should just have a resolution to move forward with that
That's what we
on
said.
July 7th.
That's what we just said. That's what we said before.
Correct.
The note that I had was to refer to the 2019, and now that Bill mentions 2015, as well as what is found at the meeting on the 7th, and just package it all together. And my only other comment, again, was if people who live in the neighborhood are going to be around on the 7th, that will technically be a separate public hearing, and they may want to come and express their opinion
I think they will.
then.
So please
But the
come on the
answer is yes,
7th.
you roll all three.
So when we
Okay, so
get,
you're all witnesses that I said we're gonna demolish the building.
when we get,
So if not, you and I show up the next day with chainsaws.
so when we get the authority to demolish it, we then have to do another public hearing to actually pull the trigger?
No.
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 So it may be that on the 7th, we already have that authority and we're just voting on the resolution?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we've said.
All right.
So this is
Okay.
basically setting a
But
date for
we,
that
but we
public
keep
hearing.
talking about that public hearing and that's trouble.
Okay, so
It just seems like it's a restart.
We have to just confirm that this is where we're going.
The consensus is I read this now,
Yes.
because we need
Are
this
we
done.
done with the
Yes.
public
Make sure
hearing?
there's nobody else left to speak.
The old public.
Is there anybody else left to speak on this public hearing?
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this public hearing? Okay.
My dad and I built the house in the 60s.
Hi, your name, sir?
My name is Charles Evans. Live on 69 Marple Road Extension. Been there for 74 years. My dad and I built the house that we're talking about, plus the 2 houses on either side where Miss Deckers lived. It was a beautiful home when we finished it, but once that owner got a hold of it, it was downhill from there. So I never thought I would say this because I got an awful lot of hard labor in it. But I'm glad to see it going down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on the 7th, please.
Anybody else?
Well, this, I'll close it with this. At one point, Nine Temple was rented out to college kids, right? Yeah. And the raccoons fell through the sheet the ceiling and the couch where they were sitting. That was years ago.
So,
Seeing no
so
one
we do
else,
this right, I'll read this now.
seeing no one else, I,
Can we make a motion to close this public hearing?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now read it, Bill.
Whereas the Building Department of the Town of Poughkeepsie has pursuant to Town Code 71 Sub 5 submitted an unsafe building investigation report dated May 4, 2021 to the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie regarding 83 Marple Road Extension, Town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, State of New York, tax grid number 6162-20-972068, hereinafter the premise. The owner of record being Zoological and Ecological Research Foundation, 740 Stephanie Road, Easton, Connecticut. 06612 is the zip, showing that the premise and the building on it are dangerous and unsafe to the general public, open at the doorways and windows, infested with insects and animals, accessible to and a haven for vagrants, trespassers, crime suspects, and illegal activity, and that they are unsanitary and present a health and fire and public health hazard. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby waive a verbatim reading of the attached report and does hereby adopt said report and directs that it be spread across the record as if in fact it had been read verbatim. Be it further resolved that an order and notice shall be issued requiring that the repair noted in the report shall be completed, the rubbish removed, opening sealed, and the grass mowed to a 20-foot radius, all to commence forthwith and within 30 days of service of the order, and to be completed within 60 days thereof, unless extended by the building inspector, failing which the town or its contractor may perform the work, the expense of which will be levied to the tax roll per Article 15 of the town law. And be it further resolved that a public hearing on the order and notice, including the recovery, levy, and collection of town expenses as an ad valorem levy, will be held before the town board on July 7, 2021, at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road. So moved.
Second.
There's a motion set.
Before you adopt this, do you want 1, 2, 3, 4 lines up from the bottom, where it says, failing which the town or its contractor may perform the work or the demolition?
Yes.
Okay.
And then above that, there's a clause that says unless extended by the building inspector, which I think Mr. Renahan wanted that removed.
Absolutely.
So I don't know who might like to amend.
I'll amend that to remove, like I said, the extended by the bill inspector, and also to add the demolition in there.
Or the demolition, and I second that.
All those in favor of the amendment? Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Yes.
Whereas the town board received a petition from Vassar College requesting a zoning text amendment to add a new use to the industrial district, allowing for a conference center on certain properties owned by the college or university by special permit zoning amendment. Whereas Vassar submitted proposed zoning amendment in connection with an application to build the Vassar Alien Institute project, a 50-room inn and restaurant conference center totaling approximately 48,000 square feet, with parking and pedestrian improvements and road access from College Avenue, located on the same lot as the existing alumni house at 157-171 College Avenue in the town of Poughkeepsie, tax parcel 6161-12-795-630, Vassar site, which is under review by the planning board. And whereas the town planning board is serving as lead agency to evaluate the petition and application in accordance with the seeker as a coordinated review of the type 1 action, and on April 15, 2021, issued a negative declaration with a notice of such termination having been provided to the town board as an involved agency. And whereas on April 15, 2021, the town planning board also issued the requisite advisory report on the zoning amendment pursuant to Article 14 of the town zoning ordinance, in which it recommended that the town board adopt a revised version of the zoning amendment as reflected in local law attached hereto. And whereas a local law enacting the zoning amendment attached hereto is incorporated herein, and the town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said local law and zoning amendment, and does direct that said local law and zoning amendment be spread across the record as if, in fact, it had been read verbatim. And whereas the town board conducted a duly noticed public hearing on the zoning amendment attached hereto on June 2nd, 2021, and whereas on May 5th, 2021, the town board also referred the zoning amendment attached hereto to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development and the municipalities adjoining the town per the town code. And whereas on June 2nd, 2021, the town board received a recommendation from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development in which it determined that in consideration of the zoning amendment was a matter of local concern without further comment. And whereas after due consideration of the aforementioned materials, the comments from the public, the negative declaration, the recommendation of the town planning board, as well as other matters and proceedings in the record, the town board makes the following findings. The town board concurs with and incorporates herein by reference the town planning board's assessment and determination reflected in the secret negative declaration. In particular, the town agrees that adopting the zoning amendment would be consistent with the town plan, would facilitate the appropriate and orderly and beneficial future development of the town, and would not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. The town plan recommends, for example, that areas surrounding large institutions such as St. Francis Hospital and Vassar, Marist, and Dutchess Community College should be considered economic development opportunity areas for both related new business development and convenient walkable service centers for the campus population and a substantial number of yearly visitors. Town Plan Policy 4.8, page 31. The zoning amendment would facilitate this goal by requiring any college, university, conference center, such as an institute proposed by Vassar, to be within walking distance, a quarter mile to the businesses in the town centers. Such proximity would encourage visitors to a conference center also to visit the town centers and become an added source of patronage and revenue for local businesses. This would foster a beneficial economic relationship between the town and the colleges in town, where these educational institutions hosting conferences and other events could increase the number of annual customers shopping and dining at local businesses. Adding to the vibrancy of the town centers, such as the town board finds that the zoning amendment would foster the goal of creating economic development opportunity areas near the larger institution areas in the town's IN district. In addition, the zoning amendment contains siting and use requirements which ensure that any college, university, conference center developed in the town would be a bona fide facility of the college that operates the facility rather than purely commercial use. The siting and use criteria also effectively prevent the oversaturation of such facilities in the town. Although the IN district compromises several hundred acres within the town, there are only 3 institutions which could build a facility, including the Vassar site. The other 2 institutions are Marist College, Dutchess Community College. To the extent that either Marist or Dutchess Community College would seek in the future to build another conference center, it would first have to demonstrate the compliance with the town's special permit and site plan criteria, including inter alia, showing that use will be in harmony with the orderly development of the district and will not discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent lands. As set forth in the detail in the negative declaration, adoption of the zoning amendments in connection with allowing Vassar's proposed institute would not result in any significant adverse impacts upon the community character, traffic operations, human health, aesthetic or historic resources, or other areas of environmental concern. Again, to the extent that any future proposals for a college, university, conference center are submitted to the town, the planning, environmental, and aesthetic aspects of such proposal would be analyzed at the time of the application in accordance with the state and local land use regulations to ensure there are adequate protections in place for residential areas adjacent to proposed conference center. Accordingly, the zoning amendments contain sufficient measures to ensure the introduction of the College University Conference Center to use the IM district would occur in a manner that is consistent with the town's future plans for development and economic prosperity, as well as the health, safety, and welfare of the community and neighborhoods adjacent to the IM district. Many commentators during the public hearing suggested that the zoning amendment would allow a use that was inconsistent with the residential neighborhood adjacent to Vassar site. As summarized in the negative declaration, the planning board evaluated the potential impact of the project on the community character, traffic, parking, and historic resources at length, and in particular whether the addition of Vassar's proposed institute at the Vassar site would negatively impact the adjacent residential neighborhood. With respect to the community character, the planning board found that the addition of Vassar's proposed institute would be consistent with the land use patterns surrounding the Vassar site, which include educational buildings, single-family residence, apartment towers, commercial uses, and a funeral home. The town board also notes that the IM district already permits uses such as hospitals, clinic, laboratories, schools, and child care facilities, which could add more intensive uses to the neighborhoods than the proposed College University Conference Center, depending on the size and scale of such uses. With respect to the traffic and parking, the town's traffic consultant, JMC, in consultation with the New York State Department of Transportation, opined that the project would not result in significant adverse traffic or parking impacts in the neighborhood in the vicinity of the Vassar site. With respect to historic resources, the planning board found that the project would not have a significant adverse impact upon historic or cultural resources in the town. This finding is consistent with the town board's previous determination that Williams Hall does not qualify as a local historic landmark, as well as the determination from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation that the project would not proceed subject to the letter of the resolution requiring documentation, reuse, and the salvage of building elements. Consistent with the foregoing, the town board concurs with the planning board's finding that adding a College University Conference Center use to the allowable uses in the IM district would not introduce a use that would be incongruent with the character or pattern development in the neighborhoods adjacent to the town's institutional uses, such as the residential neighborhood surrounding the Vassar site. Now therefore be enacted, the town board, town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby adopt a local law amending Town Code 210 entitled zoning, specifically to amend section 210-9 by adding a definition for a College University Conference Center and adding a new section 210-62.2 entitled College University Conference Center in the Form annexed hereto as Exhibit A, and be it further enacted, said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second. We got a motion second. Any questions, comments?
I think just before I vote, like I said, I listened, like I said, to a lot of the concerned residents around that area. And I somewhat agree that, like I said, I agree with having the inn and the conference center. I just don't think that that is the ideal location for it. I know they have that traffic studies and stuff like that. I think there is, it's gonna add traffic problems in that area. It's like I said, it's a tight area. I just want to throw it out there. I'm not really in favor of it. That's just my opinion, because like I said, I think there's other property that they could have put this building. That's just me.
Anybody else?
Yeah, and, well, I agree with the neighbors, and actually, this is partly due to Vassar's generosity and allowing the public to use. This is their private lawn, but they've allowed the public to use it, and it's become the heart of the neighborhood. And we hate to see any amount of it be used, and I agree that I would like to see another location for this, because we're in favor of the Inn and Institute, it's just the location.
I just have one question. I was submitted a bunch of paperwork that I thought was separately divided for the town board, but it seems as though it may be just one document.
The paperwork that I gave you, the top part is the traffic report from Mr. Mathia. The bottom, the separate sections are traffic, fatality, and accident reports, or accident
I'm just
reports
asking.
from Poughkeepsie Police. They're separated by
Okay, so it's basically one document.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
Any other board? Yeah, I also, I like the project. I'm not sold on the site exactly, but I walked the site of the Williams property, the building, and that building was changed over many times over. To me, that lost any historical value that had at that time. Once you made alterations to that building and you try to modernize it,
you took any historical value away in my perspective. I do think the building is unsafe. I think Vassar proved that. I walked you through the building. I do believe that to be true. I do like the project coming into the business district, though. I do think no matter where we put this project, it would be add traffic to the area. We do have the other hotel on the corner across from Popeyes. That brings traffic as well, but nothing's backing up. So I really don't think the traffic is going to be as bad as people think. I did listen, only from the fourth ward, only had one two constituents call and actually voiced their opposed to this project. But most of the others seem to be people who actually lived in and worked for Vassar College. So although I take everything you said and the residents that live around the project area, I do feel for you, but I do think our studies that were done are warranted to allow this project to go through. So I do think we have to move forward in the town of Poughkeepsie, otherwise we're not going to get people here to want to live here.
We're voting to allow the institutional zone to have in an institute, correct?
Correct.
We're not voting on where it goes or where it doesn't go tonight, correct? We're just voting on whether you, so we're voting.
You're voting on a text amendment.
David is here.
Well, I can explain. Hi, guys, sorry, it's David Cooper, your special counsel on this matter, part of, with Zarin and Steinmetz. That's correct. The issue before the board tonight is the adoption of a zoning amendment that would create this use in the IDNU district throughout the town. Yes, there are applicable, there are siting criteria, and there are certain sites that would qualify. But the question is not specifically whether one site over the other site is better. The question is whether adding this use to your district to your zoning code is appropriate.
Right. Okay, thank you, David.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Want to do a roll call first?
Sure. Jeff Renahan?
Nay.
Councilman Carlos?
Yay. Yes.
Mike Sifone?
Aye.
Stefan Krakauer?
Yes.
Jen Schurshin?
Nay.
And Jay Baisley?
Aye.
So that passes 4-2.
Motion passes 4-2.
Whereas the town board has received an application from Mid-Hudson Development Corp. Requesting that the zoning for tax parcel numbers 615801261673 and 615801237655 located on Route 9D and on Delaverne Avenue respectively in the town of Poughkeepsie, consisting of 6.51 acres, be changed from residence single family 20,000 square feet R20 to resident multifamily designation, and where the proposed zoning map amendment would allow for the development of South Hill Common, to propose 24-unit multifamily housing project consisting of 4 two-story buildings, and whereas the proposed amendment is attached hereto and incorporated herein, and the town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said amendment and does direct that said amendment be spread across the record as if it in fact had been read verbatim, and whereas the action to amend the zoning map is an unlisted action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas by Resolution 617, number 12 of 2020, the town board consented to the planning board serving as the lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of the proposed action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, referred the matter to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for a recommendation pursuant to General Municipal Law 239-M, and referred the matter to the Town Planning Board for an advisory report pursuant to Town Code Section 215-154, and whereas a response dated July 15, 2020 was received from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, and that said response stated it was a matter of local concern, and whereas the Town Planning Board as lead agency determined that the proposed project would not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and that no environmental impact statement will be required for the reasons set forth in the secret negative declaration for an unlisted action dated May 20, 2021, and whereas on May 20, 2021, the Town Planning Board also voted to convey no recommendation, positive or negative, as part of its advisory report to the Town Board regarding the proposed zoning district change from R20 to R residential multifamily, noting several items for the Town Board's consideration, and whereas amending the zoning map requires a public hearing, now therefore be it resolved that One, the town board does hereby set a public hearing on the proposed zoning map amendment for July 21st, 2021 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may come to be heard in the Town Hall, 1 Over Rock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. And two, the town board directs the town clerk to provide for public notice of said hearing per town code section 210-156. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor or his designee to execute an agreement in the form acceptable to him after consultation with the attorney for the town, allowing Main Gate Productions LLC to conduct movie productions at 44 Raymond Avenue, All Shook Up, 15 College View Avenue, Tomato Cafe, 53 Raymond Avenue, My Market, 536 West Hague Avenue, Quality Inn, and 41 Meyer Avenue in the town of Poughkeepsie and substantially continuous town and private properties from June 14th, 2021 through July 3rd, 2021 at various specific times and dates and times to be proposed in advance by Main Gate, which are subject to the consent of the town supervisor and such reasonable conditions as he may impose. And it does hereby authorize the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, subject to its standard policies, procedures, and charges, to provide traffic control assistance, all subject to Main Gate Productions LLC and its subcontractors and vendors, conducting all activities consistent with state, local, and federal laws, rules, and regulations, received all requiring state, county, and town permits pertaining written consent from all involved private property owners agreeing to identify and defend and hold the town and its officers and employees harmless, and providing the town accepts if town acceptable proof of workman's compensation insurance, automobile insurance, and general liability insurance, naming the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insurance. So moved.
Second.
Any motion second? Any questions on this one?
Yeah, so this is the reason why Raymond had been closed down?
Yep.
Yeah, and so that's their production, okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Be resolved, the town board of town of Poughkeepsie does hereby retain Capitano Rothschild Egan LLP with the hourly rate of $200 an hour for attorneys, $100 an hour for paralegals to represent the town's interest in a matter relating to licensing of real property in the town Marlborough from Tilcon for the police department's weapon training facility. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby acknowledge receipt of an amended request reflecting the corrected address on behalf of Chipotle Mexican Grill of Colorado LLC, 15 Winslow Gate Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, for a waiver of a 30-day review period for a liquor license application. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the town clerk's forwarding of a waiver and consent pursuant to the attached request. So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution number 11. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Madalena LeBron to the position of permanent part-time clerk with the town of Poughkeepsie Comptroller's Office at grade 4, step 2, salary of $20.0243 per hour, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law, effective June 7th, 2021, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second. Any motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the town board of town of Poughkeepsie does hereby consent to the amended declaration of easement in regard to the project known as Manor Hill Mobile Home Park. And be it further resolved, the town board of town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor, after consultation with town attorney, planning board attorney, town engineer, and director of municipal development, to sign any required consent supporting or recording documents in regard to this easement. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any questions on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby set the 7th day of July 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, as and for the time, date, and place of a public hearing to consider the adoption of local law to provide a 4-year term for the elective office of Town Clerk, Town of Poughkeepsie, such 4-year term to commence on January 1, 2022, and which attached local law, if adopted by the Town Board, is subject to voter approval on November 2nd, 2021, and would become effective immediately upon filing in the Office of Secretary of State if approved by a majority of the qualified electors voting therein in accordance with the requirements of Section 27 of the Municipal Home Rule Law. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions or comments on this? Per Highway Supervisor Pfeiffer, he requested us to consider adding the whole board for 4-year terms versus 2 years. That's something you guys want to consider? We spoke about it in the past.
I think the board makes it more complicated, because I think if you did that, you should stagger the terms. The supervisor makes sense, though, because supervisor
I
is
agree with
a
the
town-wide
supervisor.
position, and it's crazy, that's a 2-year term.
And one of the comments was, during our multiple conversations over years, we split the board half and half.
Right.
Do, one section 1 year, one section the other.
Right. So the board might be too complicated, and it would slow this up, but I think we should make an amendment to add the town supervisor position to that.
Okay, I second that.
I would recommend having it on separate proposals, because that's just my
And
opinion.
also, how about highway superintendent as well?
He's already
Yeah,
for.
He's already
He's already for, and so is,
Receiver, taxes, and
Four.
highway
Yeah.
superintendent are both 4 years.
That's right.
yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion, but I don't,
It's up to you guys. What do you want? Put it on there, you want to make it separate, it's up to.
I mean, it was they would be separate items on a ballot, or one item on a ballot? Is that the question?
Separate.
There'd be separate items on a ballot, either way. Correct?
Yeah, it would be separate on the ballot, you
Right.
vote yes or no for each one.
Right.
yeah,
Yep.
you have to have it worded that way, though,
Yeah,
specifically.
so it doesn't end up all in the same.
I think it's a bad idea.
There's no local law which is attached to this vis-à-vis the supervisor, so I can try and change it.
You would still have time if you wanted to add the
That's the
supervisor
question.
or the board. You could, on the 7th of July, you could do a set date for July 21st. That would be getting it under the wire, but it has to be to the Board of Elections by August 2nd. So there would be time if you wanted to do it correctly and maybe even think about the board.
We can just
But I
amend,
just wanted to get it
amend
in.
this
we
one
can
to
just
get it
amend this
in.
resolution to include the supervisor and the attached local law to include the supervisor as well.
Right, makes it easier.
So then, when
Whatever
we have the
you- I-
public hearing, you have the amended local law based on what we just passed, that we're about to pass.
So would you want separate local laws?
Sure, I don't care,
Okay.
we just have so.
Not for you guys, but if you keep talking, I'll.
One for each, and one for both, one for both.
Separate local laws to provide a 4-year term for the elective office of town clerk and town supervisor, right?
Correct.
Of the town of Poughkeepsie, such 4-year terms, plural, to commence on January 20, and which attached local law, if adopted by the town board, let's see, which attached local laws, right?
Yep.
It would be easier to leave this
If
in.
adopted by the town board, are subject to voter approval on November 2, 2021, and would be kept immediately upon filing in the Office of Secretary of State, if approved by a majority of electors voting therein in accordance with the requirements of Section 27 of the Municipal Home Rule Law. Can you go ahead and do some other resolutions, and I'll
Sure, we'll come back to this one.
and I'll carve up a proposed local law?
Number 14.
Okay, that's, I think, me. Whereas the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received an application submitted by Shelby Adrian to hold an event called Eastdale Street Fair located Cottage Square, 48 Eastdale Avenue North, Poughkeepsie, New York, on July 17th, 2021, from 11 to 4 p.m. And whereas the presence of food vendors is a vital part of a successful event, now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does not include the vendors of food participating in this event as peddlers and hawkers, and these vendors are thereby exempt from the provision of Chapter 151 of the Town Code, and be further resolved that the town clerk is in receipt of a certificate of liability insurance naming the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured, and be further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application as submitted for said event to be held on the above mentioned dates. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. 15, notice of claim for illegal home site, Joyce Roads versus the town. Number 16, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is hereby grants special consent to the following items to wit: 1, approve a block party on James Street; 2, authorize the acceptance of Eastdale wastewater pipe, second supplemental bill of sale; 3, authorize 67 Manchester Road, Shady Brook Trailer Park, cancel release and notice of pendency; 4, approve the Elks Club car show. Be it further resolved that upon objection of any member of the town board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application submitted by Melissa Myler to hold a block party on James Street, Poughkeepsie, New York, from 17 James Street to 29 James Street on July 14, 2021, with a rain date of July 15, 2021, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., and does hereby authorize Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department Traffic Division to close said street, but allowing access for emergency vehicles from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby waive the open container law in the event alcoholic beverages are to be served. So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All
Who
those in fa-
seconded that? I'm sorry.
Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution Special Consent 2. Whereas by bill of sale dated May 19th, 2020, the Town of Poughkeepsie Resolution 3/18-13 of 2020 accepted certain sewer facilities and equipment from MHTC Development LLC, hereinafter MHTC, at the Eastdale project on Route 44 in the town of Poughkeepsie, and by Resolution 1118, number 9 of 2020, has accepted an additional wastewater pipe at Eastdale, which runs from SMH number 8 to SMH number 9 per supplemental bill of sale of November 16th, 2020. And now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to accept a second supplemental bill of sale in substantially the form annexed for an additional Eastdale wastewater pipe running from SMH 6 to SMH 6A and 6B, subject to the receipt of an engineering certification from the Town of Poughkeepsie Engineering Department and a consent to operate from Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health. And be it further resolved that no secret review is required because this transfer involves providing sewer services to an approved subdivision. So moved.
Second. We got a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas 67 Manchester LLC has taken title to the former Shady Brook Mobile Home Park property on Route 55, has cleared the site, graded it, installed infrastructure, and is proceeding with the redevelopment of it. And whereas an earlier owner of Shady Brook property was cited by the town for several unsafe structure town code violations, which resulted in the filing of 10 notices of pendency against the property in the county real property records. And whereas those filed notices impair 67 Manchester LLC's title to the property, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to cancel and release the notice of pendency as liens against Shady Brook real property, with all filing fees to be borne by the developer, and with the town of Poughkeepsie reserving all rights which it may have to otherwise pursue claims and penalties against prior owners. So moved.
Second.
Any motion and a second? Any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0, and it's a pleasure to see that empty mobile home park at this point is going to be rebuilt.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application submitted by Norm Dennis on behalf of the Poughkeepsie Elks Club to hold a car show on Sunday, July 25th, 2021, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the Poughkeepsie Elks property, 29 Overrocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York.
And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application as submitted for said event contingent upon receipt by the town of a certificate of liability insurance naming the town of Poughkeepsie as additional insured. So moved.
Second.
Yeah, motion and second, any questions on this?
I just want to say it's nice dealing with Norm again on the car shows because he
Yeah.
had a rough go of it and he looks really good and I'm just happy for him.
Agreed. That brings us to getting of our agenda items.
We have to vote on.
Oh, yeah, forgot, so.
Can we go backwards to what Mr. Krakauer?
So SC4 passed 6-0 and we're going to go back to resolution number
You wanted to amend that resolution to include
Number
references
13.
to separate public hearings
Okay.
for the clerk as well as the supervisor. And I didn't recall that it was voted on, but
No, it wasn't,
then you probably want to,
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is hereby set the 7th day of July 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Overrock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, Avenue for the time, date, and place of public hearings to consider the adoption of separate local laws to provide a 4-year term for the elective office of town clerk and town supervisor, town of Poughkeepsie, for such 4-year terms to commence on January 1, 2022, and which attached local laws, if adopted by the town board, are subject to voter approval on November 2nd, 2021, and will become effective immediately upon filing in the Office of the Secretary of State if approved by a majority of qualified electors voting thereon in accordance with the requirements of Section 27 of the Municipal Home Rule Law. So moved.
Second.
The motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion passes 6-0. That brings us to the end of our agenda items. We want the other half to our committee of the whole items. No, presentation is canceled, something came up, there's other things going on with the cannabis law, and we'll get back to it when it's ready to come back. Finance,
Nothing to report.
technology,
The new website is up and it looks good. It's nice.
it's a step in the right direction. Recreation,
Yes, okay, the senior center has once again reopened, starting past Monday, June 14th. It's open on reservations only. Masks are required if you're non-vaccinated. And you need to give them a call to make your reservation. It looked like they were having fun. They're accepting like 40 people a day, so it was very nice. And this is like a soft opening.
Can't we push that up a little, higher numbers, since there's really no restrictions now?
They're also, it's a soft opening. They're feeling their way through and they don't have a lot of programming yet, so it'll give me a chance to get up to speed.
After this week, there will be no reservations needed and no load. That's been changed since the opening on Monday. Monday for this week, just to get the feel of how many were showing up. Dan's correct that they'll be coming in, and we have a limit of like 50. But after things have changed, next week there'll be no limits.
How about our summer camp? Can we expand that at all? Or-
We did expand it. What are we, like 120
Yeah, it's up
per day? And we've got 70% full so far. And also, we have a new senior center coordinator. and She's doing a great job. All right, and then the other activities coming up, June 29th, the concerts start again at Greenville Park. And July 9th at Creekside, there's going to be movie nights at 8 p.m. Bring your own chair. Oh, and tennis lessons have begun.
Yes. And Rover from Poughkeepsie Library, which was here tonight, will be visiting our apartment every ward in the next week.
And I'll have some information outside of my office about that, if anybody's interested.
Fire advisory,
No report.
infrastructure.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. Highway is continuing with their paving right now. Sewer has the same problem we have been having with the low pump station. Water, there's a request from the water department, and they are proposing a local law with respect to the larger meters for the larger suppliers. The problem is getting them changed over. So it's going to be it'll be a law. So I'm going to give it to Jim and let him do the wording. I'll send copies of it to the people on infrastructure. and then we can vote it at some point in the future. Go law, so it's gonna require a public hearing, we'll do all of that. But it makes sense, the way it's been laid out to us, as to why it has to happen. And that's all I have for infrastructure.
Personnel, nothing to report this time. Building consolidation, nothing to report this time. Bill will reach out to me tomorrow, so we have some discussions on moving
Okay.
forward. Master plan report?
Oh, yes. The committee is just about done. We have our final draft of the new master plan, and we'll be having a meeting in this month, and hopefully that'll then be able to send it to the town board. This has been a significant piece of work. It's a very comprehensive plan. There are things in there that I don't like. There are things in there that other people on the committee don't like, but it's in the best interest of the whole town that we have this. So the next step will be, Comprehensive Review Plan Committee will pass it forward to the town board. I would expect that to happen at our next committee, which I think is the end of the month. Third week of the month. I'm not sure of the date, but it's coming up.
Anything else?
That's all.
No, as far as my report goes, last month we applied for close to 20 different grants in different departments. As the comment was, if you haven't spoke with our grant writer, they probably don't know you exist, but we've applied for multiple grants, whether they're from grants to climate action down in New Hamburg, to recreation grants, to sewer, water, highway culverts. I think everybody in town halls met with the grant writer, we've applied for many different grants. And we've applied for county grants. We received a county grant for senior center, to get the senior center ready to open. So Jane and the rec director has worked on things that we'll be purchasing for the senior center, changing. We put air purifiers in and things like that to start. But as we've opened up and some things we don't need, we're gonna change around and get some different things that we do think we do need. Town is currently hiring and been interviewing quite a few people. It's been a busy week. We're looking for somebody in planning, somebody in the water department, we got somebody in comptroller's office, and highway, we'll be hiring shortly, and water is interviewing also at this time. So quite a few different interviews going on at this time. So the personnel committee will be notified as this process moves forward. That's all I have. Does anybody else?
Yeah, I have something else I'd like to bring up, and it's about the Climate Smart Engagement and Education Plan that you distributed to the town board and asked everybody to look at. And this is one of the activities. We are so close to bronze level. And that if we are able to adopt this tonight, the cutoff is July 2nd. That basically we'd be pretty much insured to make up to bronze level, which opens us up to more grants and anything and other things, and it's really quite an undertaking. It really shows how hard the Climate Smart community has worked on this. And I see Sue Heck is still hanging in there. She's our chair, so she's available if we have any questions about this. So I just hope that you had a chance to look at it. If there's anything you want to take out of it, we can definitely edit it. But I'd like to make a motion tonight that we adopt the Climate Smart. Did we close our meeting?
No, it's a joint meeting, we didn't close it.
And what
We
level
didn't
are
do
we now?
comments on
We're gonna be
planning
bronze,
board yet.
what level are we now?
We're nothing.
We're nothing.
Bronze is the first level. It goes bronze, silver, gold. So bronze is the first level.
No, and just to clarify, is this correct? This, if we adopt this, we don't have to do everything on there, right? It's just really a plan, right?
This is a pattern book.
Yep.
This is a pattern book to give ideas. And frankly, I was impressed with the wide variety of ideas and things that you can do to engage the public into being more into conservation, into basically it's about energy.
Yeah.
Reduction energy. I sent you an email too, and Jay sent you an email.
It wasn't on the agenda, so.
I do have one item in here. There is a statement in here on how they're telling us how we should pick and choose elected officials. That should not be in any plan.
Yeah.
or
And well,
any
and we can
document.
take that out, that's
Yeah,
on
town
page
government law.
22, it's the third item down, and we can make a motion to remove vote for local and higher level officials. That can, and I agree with you, that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah,
I
it was-
don't, because this was written by a class at Cornell. So they were very progressive and forward-thinking. And also, this doesn't hold us to anything. It's more or less for the Climate Smart Committee to use for ideas. And quite frankly, you're getting a great bargain. I mean, Susan's been at the last 2 farmers market promoting solar for all. And we're getting a great deal of volunteerism through this. And it doesn't cost us anything.
I just haven't read it, I didn't know we meant to do anything with it today, so.
I tried.
Yeah, no, well, I don't know that, that's what I said.
There's no harm if we put this on to July 7th, or
Well,
not?
then
Is there a cutoff?
it's too late, and it's too late, and we won't be available to go up for the bonds level until January 2nd.
What is
Jim, is there a plan we have to vote on?
It gets you more grants. It makes you,
Technically, the
it's a
town
point thing, so the more
acts
points you have, the
through
more
the town
accessibility
board.
grants you have.
So I'm not familiar with this, but I think if you want to do it, you would want at least a voice motion, and to be, you know, a bit careful about what you would exclude from it. I don't know if Ann has the
So we
document
need to
on
do some editing before we can do that? Can we do that and
Well,
not do
it's
the
just
motion?
Jay has, and we can take that out, and that's part of this thing too, that we can edit it and then it gets resubmitted to the state, and
But
then
you're
they
past your
approve or
deadline.
disapprove our edits.
But then, Ann, you're past your deadline, right?
No,
Pass it with,
Yeah.
if we pass it tonight, they've got 2 weeks to do it.
we can pass it tonight
Got it.
with a resolution that we're gonna remove some articles that are not agreeable to us, that's all.
I mean, if you guys all reviewed it, that's fine, I'm not comfortable voting for something I didn't have a chance to go through, that's why I said, it's up to you guys.
I read it today, I reread it today, and the only issue I really have with it is the
Yeah,
fact that it's a
I-
plan, and it's just a plan you put in place, like a lot of the other plans we have, the Greenway Trail Plan, they're all directional plans, like a comprehensive plan or
It-
directions to tell us where to go. The one that I had the issue with was anybody telling anybody in town government how to vote. That should not be anything
And
in town
it's,
government.
on page 22, it's the third item down, we can remove it.
And there's nothing else in there that we need to remove, Jay?
I didn't see anything else in there because a lot of it is just
We should all,
guidance,
yeah.
we
guidance
should
and
all
everything.
have read the thing before.
Mike, I know, I just.
I did,
And I sent something to
I-
Jay.
I know I read it, and I
I-
responded back.
Yeah, it doesn't commit us to doing anything. It's just a guide of the level of things that you should be looking at to do. And a lot of those things in there, we do. I mean, we held, down the water board a few years ago, trying to get the heck they're called, water buckets and different things and different environmental things. We've done, you know, LED lighting here. There's a lot of stuff in all these plans that you look at. The town has been very proactive in doing what we thought was a positive. Rain barrels, thank you, Doreen.
Well, I think because of the deadline, and I feel bad that Stefan didn't read it there, that we should move along, and I have no problem with seconding that motion.
I think we should do it, acceptable to, you know, changes. that
Mhm.
we agreed upon.
Yeah,
So who's moving this?
I'm moving it.
Okay, so it's Ann Shershon moved and Jeff Renahan seconded the adoption of the climate smart what, Ann?
Engagement and education.
Engagement
Plan, I
education
believe.
plan.
Accept article,
Yeah, page 22, third item down.
Just have to remember, it's a plan and not a policy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
And it says it's a
Regarding-
plan, it
regarding
doesn't
It
say
says a plan.
And that's
Board
exactly what
voting.
we have with the police.
yeah, it's not a
plan.
policy, and it's not code.
so it's page 22, paragraph 3, raise
Yep.
board voting,
Yeah,
Yeah.
vote for local or higher officials.
and you want that
Removed.
to be subject to,
Just remove
no,
it.
okay, just remove that, and then otherwise it's.
Yeah, and move back.
It's basically telling the people to only vote for candidates who go by this thing, and it's
Who are,
just wrong.
who are green candidates.
Yeah, so then it's just wrong, so.
It doesn't belong in anybody's plan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh,
What? Say no.
Abstain.
Oh, abstain, so
It's 501, right?
Okay. 5-0.
5 and abstain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does that, anybody have anything else they want to bring up?
They got a plant on it, they're out there.
Any comments or read this?
Make a motion to open it to.
Yeah, make a motion open for comment on any item at all. Second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Would anybody like to speak? Please limit it to 3 minutes if possible.
Doreen, did you want to say anything about any public comment?
Yeah, I just had a question. So you were in the committee of the whole. Did I miss it? Did you reopen the meeting in order to vote?
We never closed the meeting, Doreen. It was a joint meeting, committee of the whole, town board meeting, and we just
Okay.
went from one into the other.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought I missed that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Doreen. Good night. Anybody else?
Would anybody else like to speak on any town issue?
If not,
Motion
motion to resume the rules. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Renningham?
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is hereby adjourned to executive session to consider the following: discussions regarding proposed, pending, or current litigation, Peterson, Reddle, Altice, and Glenn, to discuss matters which are exempt under the open meeting law, including matters subject to attorney-client privilege. So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes 6-0. Town Poughkeepsie Town Board goes into executive session at 10:07 PM.